Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Adrian.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday.
That is correct. Happy Monday. All right, what do you notice different on the screen?
Anyone? Me?
Yeah, you, Sir Bueller.
Well, your photo looks a little like that looks like a new photo to me.
That's exactly what that is. That is a new photo. So if you are in need of new photos, Chris Carlin in our Weston Market Center, he actually is a professional photographer. He says it's a hobby, but he really is amazing. He
I
did
don't
our photos.
I don't want to
So
keep giving him a shameless plug, but that photo, my photo is also one of his from about 2 years ago. Maybe time for an update.
awesome. Yes, I hear realtors, we are the worst. And so you want to make sure your photo always looks like you do, even though we like to keep sometimes the younger version of ourselves. You want to look like the person who you are when you show up at that listing consultation. You don't want them to say, "Who the heck are you?" You need to look like you're marketing because let me tell you, I've seen some. Hey, don't mess with gunner shots. I did those once.
Good stuff.
They were terrible. They were terrible.
Take care. It was
All
the
right,
80s.
let's jump in. Wasn't that far long ago? Come on now. Wasn't in real estate until 2000, Adrian. I was still in high school in the 80s. All right. So let's talk about real estate. What is happening in the marketplace? All right. So we're here in our Dade County single family homes. What do you notice, Adrian?
So I'm seeing 43 more pendings.
Yep, definitely some more pendings. I would say in our single family homes, we're up about 2%. When you add in our active with contract and our pending sales together and you look, week over week, it's up slightly. Now the trend is the same across all the different segments of our marketplace. This one saw the smallest increase. We've seen significantly more increase in pendings across the board.
Correct.
But what do you notice also that's different?
If we're comparing, and if I'm just going on what we talked about last week, I see a massive decrease on the expireds coming off. So week
Yeah.
over week, yeah.
Yeah, week over week, our expireds were cutting about half, which is interesting because the prior week it was double. So kind of makes you wonder, we got to keep watching this as a trend if everybody sort of times it for the very last week of a
Right.
month, which would make sense as to why you're seeing it that first week so high. What I did notice, though, oddly enough, was the number of new listings on the market dropped, right? So, new to the market, last week, 451 listings were taken in the single family homes. This week, 387. And so we sometimes see these kind of drops when you've got a holiday or something in between. We didn't have any of those. We can't blame snow. We didn't have a storm.
Right.
So, just kind of paying attention to watch,
Unless they
right?
were going to the Taylor Swift
So,
concerts or prepping for Super Bowl. And
Super Bowl could have been the reason we kind of lost a whole day because of Super Bowl, right? Prepping, even though my team was not playing.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I was, texting with a bunch of different people, some of our agents, some of our leaders on, why do you watch the Super Bowl? And the great majority, it was not about the game, although for some of our people it was the game. The majority, it was the commercials. So throw in the chat. Let me hear from you guys in the chat. Why do you watch the Super Bowl? Is it the commercials? Is it the food? Is it the game? What is it? Is it something else? Was it Taylor Swift that drove you
I was going to
there?
say, I think I counted 12 different occurrences for Taylor Swift pan-overs.
Yeah, the if you were following along in Only in Dade, if you guys don't follow Only in Dade, follow them. They're hysterical. Only in Dade, Only in Broward. But people were commenting on, there were all sorts of parties. I'm not condoning or advocating this, but they were doing shots. Some people were doing
There
water
you go.
shots, which I thought was
Missed it.
hysterical every time. Every time she was on. All right, I see Arlene was watching for the commercials, but mainly for the halftime show.
Yep.
Yes, the halftime
Not
show.
bad. Not bad.
Listen, man, I was impressed when he came out, when Usher came out on skates. Come on now. I don't know about you
Take us
guys,
back to
but
those roller skating days. Yeah, yeah.
hello, roller skating plus Little John, the whole crew was together. So I thought it was really cool. So yes, it was definitely, I love the show. And Arlene, that cat suit, I'd love to one day fit in a cat suit like that.
I'm trying to cut back.
Yeah, Adrian, I don't think we want to see that either. We're good. All good. All right. All right, moving right along back to our topic at hand. Here's our condo and townhouse market in Dade County. So Adrian, what'd you pick up on this one this week? What
So
do you
just like you
notice?
said, although the Miami-Dade single family homes was the smallest increase, this one had 64 more pendings. So yeah, that trend is going up or continuing to go up as well. 64 more pendings on this one.
Yeah, new on market was again pretty flat. We had about 20 or so new listings come on the market versus the prior week, but the number of pendings increased. It increased almost 10% week over week. So if our new on market stays equal, but our pendings are going up, what is that telling us is going to happen?
You're going to run out of inventory at some point.
Yeah, your inventory is staying tight. So just pay attention to that. Your inventory is definitely staying tight. The other thing, though, nothing new. We talked about this last week. In this category, in both the townhouses and condos, look at the number of price decreases we're seeing. And so we've got to get these prices corrected and get them right. Although we saw significantly less in the last 7 days than we saw the prior 7 days.
Yeah, but I would still argue that for the inventory that's there, if you're doing 519 price decreases, that's about half more decreases than probably are needed if we had just gotten the pricing right from the get-go.
Yeah. The good news is I loved, again, our closings. We had less closings this week than we did the prior week. And yet the pendings are increasing. And that's what's really important because the pendings right now are indicative of what's going to happen over the next 60 to 60 days or so. Although our timelines are typically about 40 days, 45 days in the condo and townhouse markets. There are more barriers that you have to go through to get your approvals, where in the single family home market, it's typically a little faster. That's a good thing for those of us on this call.
Love it.
All right, let's jump over to Broward. What stands out at you here?
Broward's, if we keep this trend going, they're up now, right? So they're more pendings.
100%. We saw 15% increase in single family home pending week over week. So what that tells me is that if you have a buyer, buyers are starting to jump back in the market. I think buyers are getting the signal that rates are coming down. I mean, they've come down off their highs, right? They're definitely back out of the 8% range. They are in the high 6-ish to 7 range is where they're at. The Fed also signaled to us in the last week that the number of expected drops is going to be less than what some people were forecasting. They're going to do it over a longer period of time. So if you were sitting and you said, you know what, I'm going to just rent out. This was last year. You're going to rent for a year. Well, at this point, you have to make a decision. And if you guys have been paying attention, stepping in right now, even with a flat market, even if it just goes up a little bit, is going to actually be a net gain to the consumer if they step in. And so I think you're seeing that in terms of your pendings. I mean, single family homes pending up 15%. That was a big number week over week. Of course, too small of a sample size for us to really put our stamp and go, oh boy, here it comes. But I would tell you that if you've got a buyer and they're saying they're going to wait till April or May, I'm going to tell you that's probably not very wise in our market to do, especially in this category.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if you look at this, you had 60 more price decreases in the Broward single family home sector. And then is there a correlation with, okay, this week you have an increase in the price decreases, and then next week, are we bound to see an increase in the pendings? It means your inventory, and again, we keep telling the same story, your inventory is going to continue to deplete unless you start putting more inventory back out there. And that buyer, just like you said, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, home you saw yesterday, or the home that we saw today that you're going to consider making an offer on, someone saw it a day or two ago, they're making the offer, especially if they've been watching the price.
100%. While you think about it tonight, they thought about it last night and they're already placing an offer on the property, right? One of the things that we noticed, and I know Adrian and we both kind of looked at this, was the increase in the number of properties that we're not just putting pending, but we're actually going active with contract, which means they have contingencies. And so what was the outcome of that conversation we had?
Yeah, so I looked at this and I'm saying, you know what, what's the real correlation? Because ideally they're both going pending, but one, like you said, it's got contingencies on it. And one of the big focal points that we came across was after a good spirited conversation is most of these homes, think about it, they're 23, sometimes 30 years old, depending on your market area. What's the one most important thing that affects the closing on most of these homes in regards to age? And it shows up correct, Alfredo. It's insurance, insurance specifically related to the roof. So is it likely, or is it because the agents are saying, you know what, since I know this might be an issue down the road in this closing before it gets to be a problem, let me put it active with contract. I can still find and shop the prospective next buyer, the backup contract. And this way, if we are unable to meet have a meeting of the minds and move forward, I've got backup offer number 2 ready to go where they've already discussed that. That's a pretty bold strategy, and it almost seems like that's what's happening.
Yeah, 100%. If I'm a strong listing agent, that is what I'm doing right now. Especially if I've got a property that is shaky, right? I don't know whether or not they're going to accept the roof, or if we're going to get an insurance quote that's within reason, because insurance quotes have been sort of astronomical and all over the place, right? Some
Yep.
with completely within reason and some completely outside of the ballpark, and there isn't always a rhyme or reason for that. So, all right, let's move into our townhouses and condos here in Broward. And again, the number of pendings up 9%.
Mhm.
9%. Now, look at the number of price decreases. We had almost 200 more price decreases, 180-ish, I would say, was the number between the 2 weeks. Significantly more price decreases. So
Yep.
we should start seeing some of that. But less properties on the market. Again, a small, not a huge drop, but definitely a drop in number of properties on the market with pendings going up. So again, can put some squeeze over time.
Yeah, it does.
On that
It does two
inventory.
things directly. There's less saturation in the market, and then, hey, guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, it'll likely heighten their sense of urgency, or at least those buyers that have been searching for a little bit and are now, hey, here's the light at the end of the tunnel. The prices are, this price that I've been watching for a couple of weeks is now starting to go down. Great. Time to move.
Yeah, lots of things to pay attention to in the condo market specifically, whether it's Broward or Dade, it doesn't matter. Please, is just remind you guys, when you are putting a buyer under contract, I know you're getting the listing, making sure that you're getting the financials, making sure you're getting the last meeting minutes, knowing where we are with that building. I had a conversation with a group the other day, and they were telling me how many of these associations are still waiving the right on their reserves, which to me is so detrimental, and won't put them into compliance in 2025 with the new rules. And so really important to pay attention to.
Yep.
And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen some significant increases in our condo fees, whether they're billed monthly or quarterly, it's irrelevant. But I've seen some increases in these fees. And that's really, really important. Yes, exactly, Juan. That's exactly correct. It's becoming an important factor for people to move forward. We're seeing it on some of our HOPA, housing for older persons, 55 and over buildings, where people are on fixed incomes, and the math, as the kids say, the math doesn't math.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that. But I saw the highest the other day. I thought in Dade County we had some of the highest association fees, and I had an agent over in the West Coast in the Sanibel market share with me. Any guess what that association fee went up to? Let me take a stab at it. It's quarterly.
What did it start at?
It was about it was $1,200 a month, so it was around $3,300 a quarter. Let me take one guess of what it might be now.
Double? Is that
Somebody said 1,500. Oh, that would be easy. Actually, 10,000. You're close. Keep going. Keep going, people. 7,000, Sarah. Nope. All right, we're going to add Ashley Williams and we're going to add Sarah Costa together. $17,000 a quarter. Yeah. Yeah, Ethan, you were close. 13,000. Wow is right. $17,000. So
yep.
What do you do with that? And so, and that was mainly as a result of the insurance on that building. So I just thought that was a big deal. All right, moving out of this, was there anything else on this, Adrian, that you wanted to cover?
All I wanted to add is we had a really spirited conversation last week in one of our brokers' corners, and just again, food for thought. When you find yourself that customer, the seller specifically in the condo market, who is considering selling or should sell because these condo fees or the reserves are starting to catch up and those assessments are coming. One of the things that I talk to our agents about all the time is this is the market where the seller credit towards those condo assessments in light of, and I don't like saying take a bath, but maybe you understand and you walk them through, you take a little bit less profit, but you'll actually walk out of this thing. You make the property more desirable by offering that credit to pay that assessment in full from the seller's net proceeds. It's a tough conversation, but it could likely be that, or get to the point where the property becomes unaffordable and now they risk losing everything. That's a horrible position to put them in. So if we can navigate the seller's net sheet, here's what you risk by putting that credit, you take a little bit less profit, but you're out in front, you sell first, and now your property became the most desirable on the market instead of waiting for everybody else. And by the way, you're going to see it, your condo market will get saturated soon.
100%. That was a great point. The other thing I would add to this, whether it's, Broward or Dade County, when you're putting a property on the market, make sure you know what new construction you're competing against. Because typically when we do our market analysis on these properties, we're looking at actives that are competing with us. We're looking at the historical sales, so we're looking at closed sales. I just want to urge you, especially in these two property types, because we're not seeing as much of that in the single family market, but in our condo market, in both, that we're looking at the incentives, because what we're seeing is in some of the developments, in condo developments, we're seeing developer incentives come out. Right. And so really important that you're on top of that, because that's going to, affect you in the resale markets.
Love it. Yeah. Otherwise, you're competing against them and they sell first.
Correct. Awesome. All right. Here was some breaking news that came out. Adrian, what does this tell us?
So it's interesting. Some of you see this, and I want to be very. I'll decrease some of the panic because some of you see this. It's not a law. It's being proposed, and basically what this is it's a transparency on the cash buy. And although it says cash buy, understand that what they're really trying to say is you saw this going back a few months ago, back in July, when Uncle Sam said, hey, we'd like to know by asking the question, does this affect you? Are you a part of this regime or of this country or whatever? Uncle Sam is just asking more questions with regards to who's buying up these properties. So what happened in the past, short and simple, is the title company would report who purchased the property and they would report it simply. What Uncle Sam is proposing to do is to put the real estate agent on more of a, am I saying this the right way, Natasha? The onus
on us, because right now, yeah, what you're explaining, Adrian, is 100% correct. Up until now, these transparency rules are in effect, and the pressure, if you will, the onus is on the title agent, right, on the title company. There is a proposal now by the administration to put the transparency requirements back on the real estate agent in the middle of it. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. We'll see if it goes anywhere, but we figured we would squash it and address it now since it had just come up and it just come out. And it was, we might as well just let you all know that this is one of the things that have come out. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and just to point out, because remember I said cash, and that's kind of what it alludes to, but understand that really what they're trying to find out is anybody or any entity purchasing cash. So you think about entities, trust, the shell companies, they want to know who owns it. That's it. Short and sweet.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they're literally looking for money laundering. That's what they're looking for. And they're looking at, okay, where else is that money being laundered? And is it in our US real estate markets? So right now they have special, let's just call it special privilege, no, special incentive rules that they have specific areas. They're calling it geo-targeting. They're targeting specific areas, and they're moving this around the country where they're watching the large percentage of cash in a marketplace. So they're kind of looking at that. That might have given them some glimpse into whatever they believe.
Right.
And now, hey, real estate
And
agent,
again,
we want to put the onus on you.
And again, we know South Florida is not corrupt.
And the least, come on now. We all, at least our group isn't, put it that way. We all do the right thing. All right. 2 questions came up, Adrian, in the chat. The first one was Adrian's saturation on which price bracket. I think that was having to do with our condo markets. And then we had another question that says, where do we find the information for new construction? That's a great question. So there is a place in the MLS where you can find the new construction. We are also, it's not all, the challenge with new homes and new construction and developments, it's not all in one place. I wish it was all in one place. You can go to New Homes, I think it's New Homes Source, newhomesource.com, and you can find a lot of the single family home developers. We are also working right now with we have a pilot program going out where you could attach new home searches on your website. So Davies is overseeing that right now. I think we have about 10 agents doing that. We're probably in the first 30 to 45 days of this beta test to make sure it all worked correctly. So we hope right after family reunion that we can release it and tell everybody that they can go do this.
And I think it was Juan who asked the question regarding saturation of a condo market in a specific price point. And I would say, to answer that, without giving you the actual price point, team, it's just think about the area that's going to have a flood of inventory. And if you look at that, would you say that that's more suburbia condo market, or is that more coastal market, condo market? And then you can go from there. I guess that's the picture I'm really trying to paint.
Yeah, it's to really pay attention. There are specific buildings that will have more of an issue than others. Remember, on these new rules having to do with as a result of Surfside, it affects condos that are buildings that are 3 stories and higher. And that includes the garage being on the first floor. So if the first floor is the garage, and there's 2 stories above that, that's considered 3 stories. Yep. If it's a building, there's no garage, first floor units, second floor units, 2-story, not affected. And so there's going to be a tale of 2 markets right there between 2 buildings right next to each other. In addition to that, the age of the buildings, where they are as a result of the coast and or water. Because when they define coast, there were some odd places inland that you wouldn't think were coastal, but they're on or off the canals.
Yep.
So
good points. Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. All right. And that's it. The last thing we want to remind you all of, many of you have already registered. We do have still a few seats available. This Wednesday, we want to love on you. We're going to be doing our awards ceremony, which will be in the morning. That is from 11 to 1:30. We have a light brunch and bubbly that will be there. So you're invited to come to that portion of it and cheer on your fellow agents as we honor everybody and their awards. But right thereafter, we're not letting you leave. And at 2:00, we're doing a state of the market. So we're going to have an insurance specialist talk on the state of insurance. We're going to have Gus Martinez share the state of the commercial market. I will be sharing the state of the residential market. And then we have a really special guest, none other than Jackie Ellis, will be coming in to talk to us about the state of the consumer and help your buyers and sellers make the right decision for them in this market. So take a look, go ahead and scan the QR code, register for it. If you do not register and you show up, our team is going to actually have you wait, because we need to allow all those who register to take their seats first. If you are late, I will tell you that the seats will be given up by 11:15. So we start at 11. If you're not in your seat by 11:15 and you did register, we're going to give up a seat for anybody who's standing there waiting. So we hope you're there and we hope you're on time. And y'all know that there's traffic here in South Florida. So time yourselves to leave accordingly.
Natascha, the only thing you didn't talk about was me opening by singing My Funny Valentine. No? Still not on the table?
Well, you're opening. Well, you are opening, Adrian. If you didn't know you were opening, you're also the MC for the awards ceremony. So you
Oh my
all get to
goodness.
hang out with Adrian. He's going to be the MC with Davies for the awards ceremony portion. I've heard you sing at karaoke, so I think that's an ixnay on that one.
Love it. Guys, always a pleasure. Hope this was
Awesome.
helpful.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your week, and we will hopefully see you guys all on Wednesday. Talk to you soon. Go
See you
sell
soon.
something. Bye, guys.